But remember, the wastegate is opening at 3.8 bar. So it turns out going over a tiny little pothole, big, large drainage hole maybe, can possibly break your axle. Yeah, I would say that axle's weak. I drive cars over this all the time and they never break, so like, what's with that? Gonna have to have a word with the guy. Gonna have to get him on the phone and be like, you know, these axles that you built me that were really strong, they don't happen to hold up to falling down a 6-foot pothole, do they? Money back, please. Hello and good morning. I've got an exciting one for you today. This one's going to make you feel all fuzzy and warm inside, because this is my 1957 Series 1 88-inch Land Rover. And as you can see, it's supporting some nice patina. That's what we like to call it. Some age-related blemishes, shall we say. But, as usual, there's something a little bit different under the bonnet, which you would expect from me. And being an 88-inch, it was originally diesel, and guess what? It still is. Right, let's talk a little bit about the history of this vehicle. So, originally, as you can see by the registration, that TWP, I believe the TWP stands for a Birmingham area registration. And obviously, all of these vehicles were built in Birmingham, as you can see by the original badge on the back here. Land Rover, Birmingham, England. Look at these that say Lucas on them, all terribly British as well. It does make you all warm and fuzzy inside. Anyway, so this has its original logbook, which you would obviously get whenever you purchased, well, no, you would get our normal UK logbook, but you maybe wouldn't get this original historic logbook. So this is from obviously when the vehicle was new. You can see its original age. It's 1st of November 1957 when it was registered. Look at that. It looks like something from World War II, doesn't it? It's great. So what else have we got to the history of this vehicle? Well, this actual car was used as a trialling vehicle, which is like an off-road type sort of event, I think, that people do. So it came with this competition vehicle logbook back from 1996, so quite a while ago, and it shows what it was doing there. Look, obviously someone and the kids having some fun in it, and the roll cage and everything. So obviously since then, all of those parts have been removed, and a more traditional body has been put on. Now, the guy who I purchased this off, he installed these panels. These panels aren't the original panels off this vehicle. Obviously, most of them were destroyed with it being a trialling vehicle. So he sourced these kind of nice patina ones, and it was these panels that drew me to the vehicle in the first place. I just think that the look of it is, I don't know, it's quite classic and quite, you can imagine it parked under a mossy tree, can't you, in an English environment. Right, so in keeping with the diesel theme, being an 88-inch Series 1, I wanted to put a diesel back in, but as usual, I put in a diesel with a difference. And this is what we ended up with. This is a scratch-built OM605, and to give you some brief specs, it's got H-beam connecting rods, fully built, internally, all new bearings, seals, everything's been machined. It's not got a ported head, it has standard camshafts. It's obviously got our billet inlet and it has our billet exhaust manifold, which I ceramic coated in green to match the theme of the mossy Land Rover vintage. And I used a charge air cooler system, again, similar to on the Patrol, which has a nifty little flap, which lifts up and closes down so you can't see that. It's not all ugly when it's parked. But it was a pretty tight fit, hence using the 5-cylinder engine instead of my usual 6-cylinder engine. But let me tell you, the 2.5 litre OM605 is a very capable unit. Basically take anything the 606 can do, take off a sixth. But there are some benefits to the 605. The coolant passageways, being the same as a 606 but less of them, allows slightly better cooling, which is nice. And also it's very, very rare for a 605 to suffer any sort of jerking. So there are lots of benefits. Oh, and the obvious benefit, the 5-cylinder sounds amazing. You know, like Audi Quattro amazing. This thing sounds sweet. It definitely doesn't sort of tie in with the vintage English theme, but I'll let it slip. Shall we have a look inside? Look at this though. Do you like what I did with the ratchet strap, just to finish off that, just to seal that bonnet area? Naughty that, isn't it? This shows how British this is. Look at this. The top of these bonnet catchers, these sprung bonnet catchers, brass. Amazing. You could polish that up and that'd be really satisfying, wouldn't it? Let's have a look inside. Special technique. Gotta just put your hip into it. Right, I'll show you the gauges. So what we've got here is our own, we made a billet basic dashboard to hold the gauges. Let me turn the lights on for you, get it all lit up. So you can see what we've got. We've got charge cooler temperature, the water in the charge cooler, oil pressure. This stat gauge gives us multiple options, multiple functions. It does lap timing and all sorts of things. You speed into corners. You could put in a few sensor inputs as well, like water input and things like that, but we don't need to do that. It tells you battery voltage and things. RPM gauge, obviously, and it is a speedo. So what we did to get the speed signal, we put some triggers on the drum, on the actual drum brake, and that allowed us to be able to get the speed sensor signal. So I've got an accurate speedo digital. Water temperature and exhaust gas temperature. Down here, as you can see, this nifty little unit. Now this is a solid state relay box, and integrated into that, I've got things like the heater, which I fitted, which is a nice addition. We've got the engine cooling fan, we've got the lights, we've got the main beam, we've got the incredible wiper system. Imagine 200 mile an hour down the autobahn, heavy rain. No, that's not really what this vehicle's built for. And the horn. Now, all of this stuff is configurable, so you can have it on a pulse setting, so you can make the lights flash, or you can switch them on and off, or you can just have them on a one-press button. So I've obviously got the horn on a childish flashing setting, which I thought was quite fun. What else have we got in here? Billet centering the steering wheel, obviously essential, so that when you crash and you headbutt the Dieselpumpuk UK emblem, you will obviously be left with that for life. We've got the pots here. Now these two pots are for brakes and clutch, which is nice. So we can keep an eye on that, and if we end up losing any fluid, we can see it straight away, which is a very good thing. Obviously all the brake system on this vehicle has been replaced, but I'll show you that outside. Let's have a look outside. You may be wondering why it has these bright white wheels, which look like teeth that have been freshly whitened. Well, the first reason is I didn't have chance to paint the wheels any other colour, and the supplier only had white. But the reason it doesn't have its original wheels is because underneath these wheels, behind them, are fully built axles. So in the rear and in the front, we basically have a late Series 3 axle, and inside them they've got 300M shafts, upgraded joints, and limited slip diffs in both the front and the rear. So they're fully built, and obviously it has to stop, so it has disc brakes also, front and rear, so they're a big upgrade. But it's still on its original springs. I do intend to upgrade them to parabolics, which are a bit softer. But yeah, I'm trying to keep it traditional, but with some mild, just creature comfort upgrades. It still does not have power steering, so it's a manual steering vehicle. But one thing that I have done, which is a little bit sneaky, is obviously when I had the bonnet open, you might have noticed that the two brake cylinders are manual brake cylinders. Well, they are actually not manual brakes. Underneath the wings, just on this side and the other, hang on, allow me to turn the steering. This is where I find out if I had enough Weetabix for breakfast. So if you allow me to turn the steering, if you look behind that wheel, you can see that box in there. Now this box is shielding a brake booster servo on both sides. So on one side you've got, I believe this side is the brake one, and on that side is the clutch one. We've got so little room in the engine bay, there was nowhere else to put them, hence them being boxed in, because obviously with it being part of the braking system, you don't want things coming up, whacking them and damaging them. So what we've also got, which is sort of slightly hidden, is the air intake. So there was no room, again, I'm going to have to pop this bonnet to show you again, but as you probably noticed, there was no room for an air intake under the bonnet. Literally turbocharger, kind of, you couldn't get an air filter on there, and certainly not that you would ever want to put an air filter on there and suck in the hot air from the engine bay. So what I did is I built an air box inside the wing, and you can see it here. I've put a cutout. So as the air pressure hits the front and creates a high pressure area, it helps to push air directly into here. If you come around this side, you can see the injector pump. What we've got is an 8.5mm pump. And I made a very solid decision when I picked up this vehicle, because on the way to collecting this vehicle, the vehicle I was towing with broke down because its alternator failed, and it didn't have enough power to keep the engine running, because it was a modern, it was a BMW M57 engine, and it has electric ECUs and things. So I decided when I built this, with my mechanical injection pump, obviously, I was going to keep it all mechanical. So there is no electric lift pump to this. This is mechanical lift pump, mechanical injector pump, fully mechanical. So if the battery goes flat on this, if you completely remove the battery altogether, this thing's going to just keep going and going and going. You can bump start this down a hill, no battery needed. Look at that. That is mechanical beauty, isn't it? We take so much effort and put so much care into the builds of our injector pumps. Very, very proud of them. The looks and the results really do speak for themselves. You may have also noticed on the seat, I had a little trophy. Which I'm quite proud of. So this is basically the UK Ultimate Call Out Challenge, Ultimate Call Out Challenge UK, and I won most horsepower on the day yesterday, which I'm really excited about, because we only had 6 weeks to build this car from me purchasing it to taking it to this show. So to actually win, again, warm and fuzzy, like I was saying, all excited. It made 434 horsepower, which was awesome, because this thing was up against 6-litre Cummins. God, what else was there? There was M57s, they made some impressive torque. To be honest, everything there was impressive, but I just can't believe Old Faithful managed to bring the highest number of the day. Like, wow. Very, very happy with that. Right, okay, I'm bored of talking about this now. Should we drive it and do some burnouts? Right, we're ready to go for a ride. Let's show you guys what this is like. So we got glow plug. We'll wait for the glow plug, just like any old diesel. Little bit of diesel noise, little bit of diesel rattle in the vehicle. To be expected. Now this has a Range Rover 4-speed LT95 gearbox, which would have come originally in very, 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 very old Range Rovers with the V8, the Rover V8. And this obviously was fitted with the Rover V8, hence getting that gearbox. It's not the most supple thing in the world. It wasn't built for comfort. Well, it wasn't really built for speed either. You may notice that the rev counter doesn't appear to be reading correctly. And the reason for that is it's out of range. So I've had to calibrate it to be a third. So whatever you see on the rev counter is 3 times what it actually is at the engine. It's just started to rain, which is terribly British, isn't it? I'm going to put my heater on, which is also a very British thing to do. That's what we do here in England. We set off in our vehicles, turn on our windscreen wipers and put on the heater. That's why all our vehicles are rotten. Aside from the noise, it's actually nice to drive. The steering, a little bit vague, but it's a classic car. These axles we didn't build in-house. They were done by a company called Design and Development Engineering. They kindly turned them round for us quite quick. And they did a nice job of them. I might even put my wiper on. That's phenomenal. I can't do a 0 to 60 test for you guys because it doesn't have a cigarette lighter socket for me to plug my 0 to 60 timer in. But I can do a spirited acceleration so you get an idea of the feeling of this vehicle. Right then. I'm going to set off mildly in first. It's so fast. Oh, it's so fast. It's as that boost builds. You can sort of feel all four wheels trying to... It's insane. The good thing as well is with the Land Rover you can feel like you're going really fast without breaking any speed limits. We were only doing 14 mile an hour just then. So I'm going to roll into the boost just gently so you can hear the wastegate. But remember, the wastegate is opening at 3.8 bar. It's so obnoxious. and so fast. I absolutely love it. The brakes are great. I've no idea if the mic's going to be picking half of this up. Yeah, that's ventilation. This wiper's actually doing a really good job. Like,